I never thought it would happen to me. I was just going about my day, like any other, when suddenly, everything changed. I remember feeling a sharp pain in my chest, like something was crushing me from the inside. My vision blurred, and I couldn't catch my breath. The last thing I heard was the sound of my own voice, weak and trembling, calling for help. Then, everything went black. But it wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something I could never have imagined. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my body anymore. I was floating above it, looking down at myself lying on the floor, pale and lifeless. People were rushing around, panicking, trying to revive me. I wanted to tell them I was okay, but no words came out. That's when I felt Ita force pulling me, dragging me into a darkness so deep and heavy that it felt like despair itself. The whispers started, voices I couldn't understand, but they filled me with a terror I'd never known. I was lost, completely and utterly lost. But then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, a light appeared. It wasn't just any light, it was pure, radiant, and filled with a love so overwhelming that it brought me to my knees, even though I didn't have a body anymore. And then I saw him, Jesus. He stepped out of the light, and I knew it was him without a single doubt. His presence was everything, peace, love, and power all at once. He looked at me and his eyes were filled with urgency. "You must see," he said, and his voice wasn't just sound. It was like it reached into the very core of who I was. Before I could even process what was happening, he showed me a vision, a glimpse of the future. It wasn't just a dream. It was real, and it was terrifying. I saw a world where people were controlled, not by force, but by fear. A world where they willingly accepted something called the mark, believing it was their only way to survive. But I knew, deep in my soul, that it was a lie. And Jesus wanted me to see it, to understand what was coming. Intervision saw a society that looked so advanced, so orderly, but it was all people were lining up to receive this mark, almost like it was a routine part of life. It was embedded in their hands or foreheads, and without it, they couldn't do anything. No buying food, no entering buildings, no using transportation. It was as if the mark was the key to life itself. But what struck me the most wasn't the control, it was the fear. People weren't being forced, they were scared. Scared of being left out, scared of losing everything they had, scared of being different. And that fear drove them to make a choice they didn't fully understand. I saw families torn apart, friends turning on each other, all because some refused to take the mark. Those who resisted were labeled as extremists, as enemies of society. They were cast out, stripped of their homes, their jobs, even their access to medical care. They became invisible, hunted, and forced to live in the shadows. But even in their suffering, they had something the others had lost: their souls. They were free even in their chains. Jesus showed me small communities of these believers, hidden away in the most unlikely places. They were struggling, yes, but they weren't alone. I saw miracles, food appearing out of nowhere, the sick being healed, and divine protection shielding them from their pursuers. It was as if God Himself was sustaining them, proving that even in the darkest times, He would provide. Jesus spoke to me again, His voice steady and full of assurance. "They will be told they have no choice, but I will provide." Those words burned into my spirit. Ikenyo, it wasn't just talking about food or shelter. He was talking about hope, about faith, about the strength to stand firm when everything around them was falling apart. But the vision didn't end there. It got darker, more intense. I saw a moment of ultimate temptation, authorities offering food, shelter, and safety to those who would take the mark. Some resisted, standing firm in their faith, while others broke under the pressure. It was heartbreaking to watch. But then, just as it seemed like all hope was lost, the sky burst open with a light so bright it made the sun look dim. Jesus returned, and everything changed. When I woke up, was back in my body, gasping for air like I'd been underwater for too long. The room was chaotic, People were crying, praying, and shouting for help. But all I could think about was what I had just seen. It wasn't a dream. It was a warning. Jesus had sent me back for a reason. I knew I had to share what I had witnessed, no matter how hard it would be to explain. My heart was pounding, not just from the shock of returning to life, but from the weight of the message I now carried. A great test is coming, and it's not just about survival, it's about faith. The world will try to convince us that we have no choice, that we must conform to survive. But Jesus showed me that there's always a choice, even when it feels impossible. The mark might promise safety and convenience, but it comes at a cost too high to pay. It's not just about losing access to food or shelter. It's about losing your soul. And that's something no one can afford. I know this sounds overwhelming, and maybe even unbelievable. Trust me, I struggled with it too, but I also know what I saw, and I know who showed it to me. Jesus didn't give me this vision to scare me. He gave it to prepare me and to prepare all of us. The time to choose is now, before the pressure becomes too great. We need to strengthen our faith, to build our relationship with Him, so that when the time comes, we can stand firm. I've seen what happens to those who they face hardship. Yes, but they also experience miracles. They see God's provision in ways they never could have imagined. And in the end, they are the ones who are truly free. So, I'm sharing this with you, not to spread fear, but to give hope. Jesus is coming soon, and when He does, everything will change. But until then, we have a choice to make. Will we stand firm in our faith, no matter the cost, or will we let fear dictate our decisions? The choice is ours, but remember, He will provide. Since that day, my life has never been the same. I carry this message with me everywhere I go, not because I want to, but because I have to. It's like a fire burning inside me, and I can't keep it quiet. I've shared this vision with my sisters in the convent, with friends, and even with strangers who feel drawn to listen. Some people look at me like I've lost my mind, and I get it's a lot to take in. But others, they listen. They feel the truth in what I'm saying, and it stirs something deep inside them. I've seen tears, I've seen fear, but I've also seen determination. People who were once complacent in their faith are now praying harder, reading their Bibles more, and seeking a deeper relationship with God. And that's exactly what this is all about. It's not just about surviving the future. It's about thriving in our faith right now. One thing Jesus made clear to me is that this isn't just about the mark or the persecution. It's about where we place our trust. In the vision, saw people who were so focused on their immediate need, shelter, safety, that they were willing to compromise their souls to get it. But I also saw those who trusted in God, even when it seemed like He wasn't there. And He showed up for them in ways that left me in awe. It reminded me of Matthew 6:33, where Jesus says, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." That verse has taken on a whole new meaning for me. It's not just a nice saying, it's a promise. A promise that if we put God first, He will take care of the rest. Even in the darkest times, even when it feels like we're alone, He is there. And He will provide. I've also been reflecting a lot on Revelation 13:16-17, where it talks about the mark and how no one can buy or sell without it. Before my experience, I used to read those verses and think they were symbolic or far off in the future. But now, I see them differently. They're real and they're urgent. The vision Jesus showed me wasn't just a warning. It was a call to action. We can't afford to be lukewarm in our faith anymore. Revelation 3:16 says, "So, because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth." Those words hit me hard. I don't want to be lukewarm. I don't want to be someone who compromises when the pressure is on. I want to be like the believers I saw in the vision, the ones who stood firm, even when it cost them everything. Because in the end, they gained everything. They gained eternity with Him. And that's the hope I want to leave you with today. Yes, the future looks dark, And yes, there will be challenges unlike anything we be ever faced. But we serve a God who is greater than any darkness. He's already won the victory, and He's given us everything we need to stand firm in our faith. Ephesians 6:13 says, "Therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand." That's our calling, to stand. Not to run, not to hide, but to stand firm in our faith, no matter what comes our way. And when we do, we'll see His hand move in ways we never could have imagined. So, let's prepare. Let's pray like never before. Let's seek Him with all our hearts. Because the time is coming, and we need to be ready. I know some of you might be wondering, how do I prepare for something like this? How do I strengthen my faith for what's coming? And honestly, it starts with the small things. It starts with spending time in prayer every day, not just when things get tough. It starts with reading the Bible and letting His words sink into your heart. For me, I've made it a habit to start my mornings with Psalm 91. It's become my anchor, especially after what I've seen. Verses like, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." Psalm 91:1. Remind me that no matter what happens, God is my refuge, and He can be yours too. But it's not just about reading. It's about living it out. It's about trusting Him in the little things so that when the big things come, our faith is already strong. I'll leave you with this. Jesus is coming back. I've seen it. Ive felt italiano. And when He does, everything will change. But until then, we have a mission. We're here to shine His light in the darkness, to stand firm in our faith, and to share the hope we have in Him. Don't wait until it's too late to make your choice. Don't wait until the pressure is so great that you feel like you have no other option. Choose Him now. Seek Him now. Because when the time comes, and it will come, you'll need to know without a doubt that He is worth it. He is worth everything. And He will provide. I've seen it with my own eyes. So, let's stand together, firm in our faith, and ready for whatever comes our way, because He is coming soon, and when He does, it will all be worth it.